Hello students, I'm Momita ma'am and I welcome you all back to our channel Study English with Momita and Shomi. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel. I hope you all have been doing fine, studying hard and staying fit from the safety of your homes during these tough times of the pandemic. Even in the pandemic, it is our homes that is giving us safety, protecting us from being vulnerable to the disease, and even giving us the scope to live a free life where the half masked faces will not surround us. So, homes are our paradise. But imagine one day in your life when you are told all of a sudden that you will have to evacuate your house. Will not it be the greatest shock of your life? Although you all are young, strong, and confident individuals, and yet you will be shocked. So imagine the trauma and the pain, the confusion and the loss a person in such a situation will go through who is around 70 years old. There were hundreds of people who had to go through this crisis in their lives. Today, we'll be meeting one such individual, an old man who had to leave his house and belongings to go to God knows where. The story Old Man at the Bridge recounts the tale of this old man in the backdrop of the Spanish Civil War. Okay, and so this Spanish Civil War was fought from 17th July 1936 to 1st April 1939. Well, let me tell you, a civil war is a war that is fought between two or more warring factions in the same nation. Similarly, this war, the Spanish Civil War, was fought in Spain between the two groups, Republicans and the Nationalists, and the war was finally won by the Nationalists under the leadership of Francisco Franco. And the bloodiest of the Spanish Civil War was the Battle of Ebro, which was also the longest of this war. It was fought between July and November 1938 at the lower course of the Ebro River. This war was the reason of death of thousands of people and rendered many homeless. This war resulted in decisive nationalist victory. And the story of the old man who lost his house, who was rendered homeless, comes from the village of San Carlos at Ebro, and the story is narrated to us by Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway was an American novelist, short story writer, journalist, as well as a sportsman. Born on 20th July 1899, he has a strong influence on the 20th century fiction. Some of his notable works are The Sun Also Rises, published in 1926, which is his first novel, For Whom the Bell Tolls, published in 1940, wherein he used his experience as a reporter during the Spanish Civil War as the background to the novel, and The Old Man and the Sea, for which he won the Pulitzer Prize in 1953 and Nobel Prize in Literature in 1954. He was appreciated for his mastery of the art of narrative. That is why he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature. Ernest Hemingway served as a reporter for the American and Canadian newspapers for quite some time. He passed away in Idaho on 2nd July 1961. Now let us come to the story. Let us begin by reading the text. An old man with steel-rimmed spectacles and very dusty clothes sat by the side of the road. There was a pontoon bridge across the river, and carts, trucks, and men, women, and children were crossing it. So the narrator starts the story directly with this old man and the description of the man. He had steel-rimmed spectacles and he was wearing dusty clothes, which at once tells us that he does not come from a very well-off family. And he was sitting by the side of the road, which shows that he was in a hapless condition. And there was a pontoon bridge across the river. Now, what is a pontoon bridge? A pontoon bridge is a floating bridge. It is mostly temporary, used in wartime and civil emergencies. Okay, and there were carts, trucks, men, and women. They were all crossing the pontoon bridge to the other end. The mule drawn carts staggered up the steep bank from the bridge, with soldiers helping push against the spokes of the wheels. So, here the soldiers are helping the people push the wheels against on the bridge. They were helping the people move on the bridge. The trucks ground up and away, heading out of it all, and the peasants plodded along in the ankle deep dust. So there were a whole lot of peasants who were leaving their place, their country, their homes, and going away. But the old man sat there without moving. He was too tired to go any farther. So the narrator emphasizes on this old man, and he says that he was really tired. He could not move any further, and this tiredness could be both physical as well as psychological. He was physically tired because he was aged, he was old, he could not move any further, and he was psychologically tired as well because he was leaving his home. He was leaving everything that he had. It was my business to cross the bridge, explore the bridgehead beyond, and find out to what point the enemy had advanced. So from here we come to know what is the role of the narrator. The role of the narrator in the war is he was supposed to go and check how far the enemy had advanced towards the place they were in, and he was continuously doing that. So I did this and returned over the bridge. So he went across the bridge, he looked at what was happening there on the other side, and then he came back. There were not so many carts now, and very few people on foot, but the old man was still there. The old man was still sitting there, which gives us a hint that this man was not ready to move. He was not ready yet to leave his home. "Where do you come from?" I asked him. And so the narrator asked him a very natural question. Where do you come from? That is, what was his village? "From San Carlos," he said, and smiled. And so it gave him pleasure to mention it. And he smiled. So look at the reaction of the old man. He smiled just at the mention of the name of his native town, which tells us how much he was attached to his hometown, which is very true for all of us. Okay, then let's read ahead. "I was taking care of animals," he explained. "Oh," I said, not quite understanding. So the old man now makes it clear what he was doing. He says that he was taking care of animals. But the narrator did not understand what he actually wanted to convey. "Yes," he said, "I stayed, you see, taking care of animals. I was the last one to leave the town of San Carlos." Now the old man is starting to explain his condition, and he says that he was the last one to leave the town of San Carlos, which shows or which reflects his extreme unwillingness to move away from his home. He did not look like a shepherd nor a herdsman, and I looked at his black dusty clothes and his grey dusty face and his steel-rimmed spectacles and said, "What animals were they?" So the narrator is again confused because this man is saying that he was looking after animals, but he did not look like a shepherd or a herdsman. He was an extremely poor person who was wearing dusty clothes and had a grey dusty face, and that is why the narrator wanted to make it clear, and he asked again, what animals were they? Like he wanted to know what were the animals that the old man was taking care of. And he replied, "Various animals," he said. So the old man tells us that he was looking after not only a single kind of an animal, but he was taking care of various animals. He shook his head. I had to leave them. But then the old man only talks of his regret. What is his regret? that he had to leave them. He had to leave his animals and come alone to this place. I was watching the bridge and the African looking country of the Ebro Delta and wondering how long now it would be before we would see the enemy, and listening all the while for the first noises that would signal that ever mysterious event called contact. And the old man still sat there. So here the narrator refers to the country of Africa. And the country of Africa had nothing to do with the Spanish Civil War, but perhaps this comparison came to the to the author's mind, because in the early 1930s, the author Hemingway was moving around the world, and he had moved in safaris in East Africa. He had taken a trip to East Africa in the early 1930s, and it is perhaps that experience which comes into play while describing the Ebro Delta. Why? Because Africa often brings to our mind, or Africa refers to a sense of wilderness as well as majestic and mystical beauty. And the Ebro Delta was as beautiful like that. It was equally beautiful, and it is because of this perhaps that the narrator brings in this comparison. Because the soldier doubtlessly had realized the contrast in the beauty of the area of the Ebro Delta and the battles that were being waged there. So Hemingway tries to capture this contrast by choosing this particular modifier, Africa. And then he says, the narrator says that he was waiting for that ever mysterious event called contact. Now, what is contact? Contact in sense of a war is when an individual or group of individuals initiate fire with the enemy. That is, it means that when there are bullets coming at you and there is a chance that one or more of those bullets can come in contact with your body. It is this situation which is called a contact. So the narrator, the soldier here, is waiting for that contact to happen. He was practically waiting for the attack of the enemy, and the old man was still sitting there. Now the narrator goes back to the old man and asks him, "What animals were they?" I asked. "There were 3 animals altogether," he explained. "There were 2 goats and a cat, and then there were 4 pairs of pigeons." So this is an important piece of information that the old man gives us, and we need to remember this. Why? Because these are the simple things that come as questions in your exams. So what were the animals he had? He had 2 goats, a cat, and 4 pairs of pigeons. "And you had to leave them?" I asked. "Yes, because of the artillery. The captain told me to go because of the artillery." And so the old man replied that he had to leave his hometown, leave his village, leave his house because of the artillery. Now, what is artillery? The word artillery refers to any group of soldiers primarily armed with some form of manufactured weapon or armor. So it is a section of the army which is trained to use large, powerful guns. "And you have no family?" I asked, watching the far end of the bridge where a few last carts were hurrying down the slope of the bank. So the narrator is continuously looking at the bridge and continuing his conversation with the old man. "No," he said, "only the animals." "No," he said, "only the animals," I stated. "The cat, of course, will be all right. A cat can look out for itself, but I cannot think what will become of others." "No," he said, "only the animals," I stated. "The cat, of course, will be all right. A cat can look out for itself, but I cannot think what will become of others." "What politics have you?" I asked. "I am without politics," he said. So the narrator asks him another very obvious question: what politics you have? Now here politics refers to the political leanings the old man had. That is, whether he supported the Republicans or the Nationalists, the 2 parties fighting the Spanish Civil War. And the old man very innocently says that I am without politics. So he is a man who is unaware of everything going around him. He is 76 years old, as he says. I am 76 years old. I have come 12 kilometers now, and I think now I can go no further. So that is his life. The old man is 76 years old. He has come 12 kilometers and he cannot think, he cannot go any further. His life revolves around the animals that he is taking care of. So he is ignorant of the politics, and there is rather no use of knowing of politics now at this point of time in his life. So this shows the anarchy that the old man is going through. And through him, the narrator, the author is trying to tell us that this is what happens to the people who are facing such a difficult life. So he says that it is not a good place to stop, and the road where it forks for Tortosa. I'll wait a while, he said, and then I will go. So the old man says that he is going to wait and he'll go after a while. Where do the trucks go? Towards Barcelona, I told him. I know no one in that direction, he said. But thank you very much. Thank you again very much. The old man is so courteous that he keeps on thanking the narrator, although he has no one living in Barcelona. He looked at me very blankly and tiredly, then said, having to share his worry with someone, the cat will be all right, I am sure. There is no need to be unquiet about the cat. So the old man is just worried about his animals, and because he has no one to share his worries, his doubts, he shares it with the narrator. And he says that the cat will be all right. But the others, now what do you think? It was a grey overcast day with a low ceiling, so their planes were not up. So there is no respite from the vagaries of war. Even it was Easter Sunday and still the fascists were advancing towards the Ebro. There is no respite. And the only positive point was that it was a grey overcast day. It means it was a cloudy day. Grey overcast day means the sky was covered with cloud with a low ceiling. Here low ceiling refers to the altitude of the base of a cloud layer. That is, the clouds were very low hanging in the sky, and so the warplanes were not up yet. That and the fact that cats know how to look after themselves was all the good luck that old man would ever have. And the narrator can feel that the only good luck he can wish to the old man was the fact that the warplane was not up yet, and it was a grey sky, and the cats can look after themselves. The old man could move no further. The narrator tried hard but could not help the old man, and so only wished luck for him. But good luck for the old man meant that for at least one more day he would be rested, his animals would be safe, and life a little easy. The end of the old man was inevitable. It was only a matter of time, and the grey sky gave that time to the old man. So the narrator tells us that it was the only good luck he could wish for the old man. And finally, to sum up, the story focuses on the sense of loss and suffering a war causes, especially to the common people, the masses, who are completely unaware of the bigger picture. The old man had no support for any party. He was a man without politics, and yet he suffers intolerably. Wars can only take away, it can never give. This trauma and despair that war brings to simple innocent people is the theme of this story. So, this is how we come to the end of the story, only realizing the loss that a war entails. Well, I'll end my video here today. I'll be discussing the themes, ideas, character sketches and important questions from the text in the second part of this video. Please be sure to be with us. Stay tuned, stay updated. Keep watching, keep subscribing. Bye-bye.